Okay, let's try to add some value here. You want to do a podcast? Do it 10 minutes. We already have some good B-roll, so... Okay, let's get in then. Welcome back. Wing It Podcast, goosedigital.com. Who do we have?
Chris O'Neill.
Robin Kroll.
Kevin Butler.
Michael Turksani. All right, so we're banging a few out today. We've had some good discussion already.
I haven't done a podcast in a while.
3/4 of a beer in.
Welcome back, Kev. We've missed you.
I've missed this.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I haven't missed you. But
it's okay.
But that's why you're sitting on this side of the table, right?
No, I'm just gonna stare.
This is 10-minuter because we're trying to get through it. It's about 9 p.m. here in Toronto because we're all putting in on a Friday night. We're putting in extra hours, right, Alex? Because we're committed.
4:50 on a Thursday.
We're committed. We're committed to the cause.
What, the producer just threw us under the bus.
Okay, we're high growth. We're early stage. We're Series A. Not even pre. We're pre-money.
Yeah.
We're pre-money. So we gotta work this. We gotta work it.
Before. We're
Well,
pre-money.
I think we're rounding into trendy because the market's moving from growth stage overall. Now they want to see profitability.
Oh yeah.
And hey.
Hey, so we're there. Oh, that's good.
Wow.
Yeah.
The market's
so we
caught up
just
to
kinda
us.
Jumped over.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, what's topical right now, Chris? Or Robin, just throw something on the table. This is going to be, we have to be mindful that our audience does listen to us and they want to learn something every now and then. Okay, they're not just looking at our pretty faces, unless it's on audio and listening to our voices, which are really good too, by the way. But throw something in, give it to me, Robin. Chris is taking too long. Go.
Customer experience.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, so customer experience maybe 5 or 6 years ago, that's what everybody was talking about. That was, everything you were doing was about the customer experience, whether it was communication, design, technology, and then somehow it kind of disappeared from everyday conversation. And I've been hearing it a lot more back at the forefront. CX, and really, in technology conversations, making sure that the way technology is designed, deployed, engaged, all about CX. So I like that.
I like that too. So I've heard that a bunch as well in in some of the deals we're in and some of the events that we've been at recently. Customer experience is now like a really big topic coming into some of these vertical markets that we support, as well as I was on a Forrester podcast. What it means, I can't remember, but I think what it's called. But it was all on how CX is moving through the enterprise and how they are restructuring roles around that. So that's interesting. I wonder if that's going to start to press into what we've been talking a lot about in terms of marketing owning more of that end-to-end experience.
I was going to ask you that. So when you're thinking of CX, what's the sort of split of responsibilities between that of marketing and IT?
I don't know. In one case, we've got a customer where the customer experience VP is reporting to strategy and IT is reporting to strategy. And underneath customer experience, they own brand, they own marketing.
That's logical. Yeah.
Now, I don't know if it makes sense for them to own brand, but certainly all the demand gen and customer marketing is underneath that person.
And that's an older organization, that's sort of...
now redeveloping.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's in sort of the middle or toward the 60 to 70% through a digital transformation, whereas a newer organization that's sort of like coming in, to existence now might not have that sort of structure.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Might be less complete than 60 to 70% though. Like to me, you would structure your organization like that, like from a roles and responsibilities perspective before you actually did any of the technology and process management after. So it might be like scaled back.
So then now there are these emerging sort of platforms, not mentioning any names, but there's a Forrester report out about these, sort of CX platforms where, sort of you start with that. So rather than sort of piecing together website for marketing, an email platform, all these different platforms together, you've got these all-in-one sort of setups where it's all built into one.
Customers. Yeah. So
It's built around the customer experience.
yeah. So I mean, customer experience is being now pointed to as like, well, we sort of forgot about the customer experience. We've
Yes.
been blasting into, I guess in some areas maybe it's more of a digital marketing area, and I would say in IT as well. It's kind of spiraled a bit, and they don't really have much of a sense of the customer.
But it's true.
The
Like
customers might be internal.
I'll say, like, we as a marketing community have been so busy rolling out MarTech, we have kind of forgotten about the role it plays. Like, we know, like, centrally these things, it's lead gen, it's emails, it's whatever, but it's like we haven't really put the customer experience first and foremost as the priority, rather than saying, does a process or a chain work?
Yeah.
It's kind of like a backlash, right? Like we went so far. It was all about the customer, and then technology and e-commerce and marketing automation. All these platforms came in with the idea of, well, we can really,
But
we
it
can do all the
fragmented
heavy
that
lifting.
customer experience.
It fragmented it, took it away, and now it's going back. And I'm just thinking about, retail. You think, why are retail stores in many industries actually seeing a resurgence? It's because e-commerce can't quite deliver on that full experience that the end consumer wants.
Sure.
So how can you really, deliver that? How could you manage both channels, but with the idea of having that best experience for the customer? And I think we're starting to see that in our industry.
Bringing it back to our industry, I think that's what Adobe's doing right now. They're blending experience and all the things they do, whether it's experience manager with commerce, so that's the Magento acquisition, with marketing automation, that's the Marketo acquisition. And even we saw news, was it this week or last week, that Salesforce has announced they're really going deep into building their own CMS off the back of looking at acquisitions around. They thought about buying the parent co that owns WordPress.
But
So there's
I
a
think
lot there.
even if you have these platforms, and I think maybe part of what we're talking about is, what is the value of having it in a platform like that? We can talk about that in a sec. But I think the customer experience is not really looked at, in that same lens that you're talking about, Robin, or it hasn't been maybe in the past. And now that governance layer, if you want to maybe call it that, of customer experience is coming into the fray, where that's actually important. So little example, and I actually replied back to this group. It was a large not-for-profit out of the US that does a lot of conservation. And I got this email, and it was like the subject line was with complete bait and switch to what the content was in the email. Not only that, there was like literally nothing in the email until you downloaded images. So the experience from a member who we don't spend tons of money, but they have a huge budget. So you spend a few $100 a year as a member. It's a lot of money, and the experience was terrible. So it's like, where is that oversight? It's like somebody might be looking at it and say, well, yeah, I use that bait and switch to up my click rates or to up my open rates. And I basically removed all the content from the email to force them to download images so that way I would get my quote unquote open rate up and, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, but you did it in a way that just totally took away from the customer experience. How do you measure that? Mm-hmm. And I think maybe that's where, as we look at the platforms, maybe that's where the measurement becomes, if you could measure the customer experience. I'm not sure how you would, but even if you had a platform, you'd still need to make sure people weren't being
well, you would
bait and switchy, right?
You would, because if you are baited and switched, or whatever the past term is, that eventually you're going to start to see disengagement rates, right? People are going to stop
Eventually.
opening your emails, stop.
But when does that
clicking
hurt
through,
your
so-
brand? And I think that's part of the thing, is that when does it become that impact already happened? That already hurt the brand.
Well, you have to look further down the line. That's why when you're measuring everything, I guess, moving beyond clicks all the way to profitability, right? Measuring revenue, because if you just look at clicks, you might not be able to say, well, how did that really hurt me? But if you follow that through to the revenue, that's where you're going to see it's going to start hurting you.
Mm-hmm. No, it's interesting. I think for a company like a big brand, the customer experience is probably, it's always been sort of very important to them. We're sort of seeing that trickle down to these smaller entities where maybe the customer experience VP has a stick now and he can walk around the organization and smack people with it. Is that what they do, Chris? If you have a big stick, you smack people with it?
I haven't seen that in years.
You know, so you smack the email person and why did
Disclaimer,
you do that?
disclaimer, that does not happen at Goose
that what it sounds
Digital.
like?
Don't anyone.
I think at the corporate meetings, like the big executive meetings, they just have a button they press. And they wanna talk.
Don't do that. Don't do that again.
I hope
Okay.
no one from HR is listening to this podcast right now.
So what I'm hearing, Robin, is that you want to move into customer experience. Basically, this was your way to pitch us while we're in the middle of a podcast that this is an interest area for
I
you.
would love to, but this has been an area of interest for me for a long time because
It's
I think
a-
customer experience
But you're
is a
saying
differentiator.
everything is customer experience.
Well, everything is customer
So
experience.
so she wants to
right?
run the whole company. That's what I'm hearing.
No.
Yeah.
My,
Customer experience
my calendar
officer.
couldn't handle it.
Customer experience officer.
CEO.
Interesting.
Well, it's
Okay.
like a couple years ago when there were all the advent of the chief customer officer, right?
Yes.
That was around that
Yeah.
customer experience. So that was it. So there's the CCO, not the CEO.
But customer experience, that didn't exist. Like sort of the
No.
that customer experience department, or
Mm-hmm.
like it's a spin out of the customer service marketing, kind of a merging there.
Yes.
You see marketing influencing sales,
Yes.
influencing customer service. It's all greater plan to take over everything.
Yeah.
Marketing.
But I think like it's like first comes data, so we kind of have a level of that, and it can get way better. And then there's actually the tools, and then somewhere in the middle, strategy is going to come in. But like I always think of it from a B2B perspective. Have you ever registered for a webinar and been like, that was a really good experience? It's like some fragmented landing page, and then the emails look awful, and it's just like,
Yeah.
we've got a long way to go.
Oh yeah.
Like, but I'm always like, well, you want to send it through like the automation platform and not the webinar platform, because they don't have any UX.
I think the
on it.
call out on retail is a really good one, because I think you're right. The customer experience in the stores so essentially what they're saying is it's not about buying these. It's not the transaction. It's
the experience.
the experience of being in that environment and exploring
Yeah.
and the products and services,
Touch and
right?
feel the service. I think of the pop-ups for like an Amazon pop-up,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm thinking of some of the trying to think of the company, one of the mattress companies, right? That was purely e-com, and now they have small pop-up stores that you can't actually buy. They're tablets, but you can go ahead and buy from a tablet in the store.
ship it, yeah.
But you can come in, you can sit on the mattress, and you have the touch, the feel, and you can talk to somebody in the store. So you get that experience. And
But
then you do the
but
transaction.
I think it's interesting what you said, Kev, because digitally, I think there is a long way to go in a lot of this stuff. Like, Disney Plus came out yesterday. I don't know if you guys heard about that.
Heard about it.
And how it's like 10 million subscribers in a day kind of thing. But what was really interesting is that it was like so first of all, on Apple TV, they were showing one of the shows that's on Disney Plus. That came up as like somewhere just in the environment, and then it was like, oh, what's that? And then it brought you over to say, oh, you need the app, and then with one click you get the app, and then boom, you're brought right in, and you can do the free trial in one click. And I think that's what you're talking about, is that like, what a crazy, like, had they launched and it was like, well, no, but now go to the website and fill this 5-step thing out and put your credit card in, because that way if your free trial doesn't clip over to paid trial, and made it super clunky and friction, it'd be like nobody would have signed up, right? It was
But
like,
it's
well, not nobody, but they would have got way less because too much work, whatever.
That's right. But even the little pop-up that came up on your screen, like, was it Disney branded? Did it uphold
Sure.
like all that
And
stuff?
that is a big part of the brand.
Yeah, like
Huge,
Disney,
right?
It's one of the best brands in the world.
Right? I mean, you don't walk through a Disney park and see garbage everywhere. It's because they've got people coming up behind you, picking up every piece.
Do you think there's a world in the future where it's people are okay to open their wallets to both like Netflix and Disney? Like, I don't think it's one or the other. I think it's both.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't agree with everyone's like, oh, they're gonna crush them. I think everyone's just gonna be like, we
I
need
don't
both.
think so. I think there's enough of an audience, and I think there's enough way of such potentially different segments and different value they can bring that I agree. I think there's room.
But
for
I
that.
think shopping yourself, I think, how to make that. We were just got off a phone call literally before this podcast, and, they're looking at switching agencies, and the agency they have a Pardot Salesforce environment, and the agency that they use for all their campaign management doesn't use it at all. It's like they're using their own lead pages, their own set of stuff, and they literally send them a spreadsheet at the end. And I'm thinking to myself, like, well, that can't be the best experience, even from a customer perspective, the leads that they're trying to create, because it's got to be fragmented, right?
That's not even a good experience for the marketing manager.
Oh, sure it isn't.
No,
Nobody
for
gets a good
anybody.
experience there.
No.
All right. Well, this has been great. I think we've learned a few things about CX.
Good topic.
Yeah, very good, Robin.
We've covered a lot of things.
Gold star on the Wing It podcast topic
Wow.
on the fly.
You must have been.
This
thinking
is
of that
probably the least amount we've planned a podcast.
Yes,
No,
I would agree.
Oh, is there yeah?
Has there been less?
No,
Has there been
really?
less? Because I
I
feel
don't
like this
think
was
so.
pretty
I think
less,
this
pretty
was,
low.
I think this was the least planned because we actually weren't going to do one, and then we said, okay, we're sitting here, let's do
Yeah,
one.
we're
So,
already
yeah,
sitting
yeah.
here, and we might as well do one.
9 p.m. on a Friday.
9 p.m. on a Friday. Alex has been
He's
pulling
already
in some
told the
serious overtime because he's committed to the
He's
cause.
already told the audience.
He's
that
committed to
it's-
the cause.
I think he's just downplaying his commitment by saying it's Thursday. all
Yeah,
know
we
it's not.
we need to catch up. What episode is this, Alex? 29, 30.
He doesn't know. Wait,
We
shouldn't
got
the
to get.
producer
I
know
feel
this?
like we all set out to achieve a 52 podcast a year goal, and we're trending a little bit behind that goal.
We're not going home until we get there.
Listen,
So,
I've been pushing on these. I've been,
the
get
big
these-
th-
get
Robin,
these
Robin. The
guests.
big
I've
thing
been
is
making the
quantity
guests.
over quality. Let's get to
Well,
quantity
that's why I
over
got-
quality, and then we'll circle back to quality.
That's why I got the gold star. Do you know how many people I got to drive to North York to do a
podcast.
podcast in the last month?
Okay, this is a very serious podcast, Kev. Okay, we always. What did we learn? Can we go through the top 3 things we learned so that our audience can
this podcast?
revise? And I'm just kidding. Let's not do that. Okay, thanks,
I learned
thanks,
you have
Alex.
Disney
Thanks,
Plus.
everybody. This has
Bye,
been
everybody.
excellent. Bye.
Peace.